Hello and welcome to the Film Yacht podcast. I am Christopher Lloyd and I'm here joined by my friend and colleague Nate Richard.
Oh,
Good to be here. And we thought we would do a podcast today specifically about the movie Marty Supreme, which is not coming out till close to Christmas, although we have had the benefit as members of the Indiana Film Journalists Association to see it early. And Nate and I had, shall we say, diverging reactions to the film. Nate, I think it would be fair to say you feel like it's one of your favorite of the years as of we're right now.
correct. Correct.
I very much did not care for it, and so we just thought we'd talk about it. And we've talked about this using our format. We call it Yap versus Yap, when a couple of us really strongly diverge on a particular movie or topic. Let's just talk it out in a obviously adversarial but friendly way. So I thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with the affirmation part first. Tell me why, and well, first of all, describing Marty Supreme for those who don't know, this is from the Josh Safdie. If you're not familiar with their particular style of filmmaking, um, I could say, what would you say, like Uncut Gems, Good Time?
Anxiety inducing, like very overwhelming, like it's sensory overload, like for extensive periods of time is how I would describe their work.
Yeah, that's a good description. Good description. So this latest one stars Timothee Chalamet and I don't think this is based on any kind of a real person.
It loosely, very loosely, and I think I could be wrong, but I thought I heard like the real life person that this was loosely inspired on was like, I will sue if you say it's a true story. So
So it's set in I think 1952 or so, and Timothy Chalamet plays a young wheeler dealer named Marty Mauser, who is in his mind the best table tennis player in the world. This was when table tennis, or as we call it, ping pong, but don't say that word to him, was really just emerging as a popular sport. And he goes on this sort of like combination of criminal enterprise slash hustle slash romance slash several other things. He's trying to get to the world championships to stake his claim. This is after losing the big match in, I think was it London?
yes.
Yeah. So it's sort of also a bit of a redemptive arc there. So that's the basic setup. So Nate, tell me why this is one of your favorite films of the year.
So I think with the Safdies, it always depends on one, where your headspace is at. Because I remember when I first saw Uncut Gems, I saw it in a theater where I saw it with my dad. Everybody in that theater hated it. And I was like trying to fight with myself. I'm like, I don't know. And then I watched it again years later and I loved it. And with this, I went in knowing exactly kind of what it was going to be. I had heard, and I think the trailers of this movie are very, very misleading because they make it seem like an inspirational, like sports kind of movie. And so I was a little tepid. I was like, I'm excited because I love, has all the ingredients, but I'm like, I don't want it to be, generic or anything. And I think just the sheer like audacity of this, there's a scene that without giving too much away, it has like, it flashes back to like the time during the Holocaust and you see a man collecting honey. I'll just leave it there, but it plays around with the surreal. There's another thing that had me just nearly like just walk out like out of like sheer anxiety involving a dog in a bathtub. And like I think just those kinds of reactions that I had are exactly what Josh Safdie wanted me to feel. That's how he wants the audience to feel. And I think the movie is very, very effective in that. And I think the movie is very, very entertaining. Like despite the hodgepodge of varying emotions I had, like I was always entertained and I'm like, I could watch this again. And this is a 2.5 hour movie.
Yeah.
Like sometimes if you're watching a 2.5 hour movie, you're like, that was enough. Especially with the movie with like stuff that can be deemed kind of upsetting or that play with your expectations. Once is enough. But for me, like this movie just constantly kept my attention.
I will agree with you on that. I was never bored watching this movie. the 2.5 hours does not feel like a super long 2.5 hours. And whatever you want to say about the Safdie brothers, their style of filmmaking, energy is a key to it. They tend to be very, not always, but very verbose. Like Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems, it felt like he never quite stopped ever talking.
Nope.
And that's very much the case with Marty Mauser. I mean, I don't know how many lines of dialogue Timothee Chalamet speaks in this movie, but it must, approach some kind of a record for, how much one character speaks in a movie. And it's all, very, fast, hyper, feels very organic. It does not, I will say this, it does, the dog does never feels written. It feels
Mm-mm.
very much like it's of the moment. Possibly, I don't know if they do like a lot of like improv where he's like there's like a base of a text and then the character, is just sort of building upon that. I don't know. So yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. I don't know. I'm a lot older than you, and I do find one of the areas, where I tend to disconnect from movies more than others, and this isn't always the case, but when I sit down in a movie theater, the hope and the prayer that goes through my heart and my mind is tell me a story.
Mm.
I'm here for a story. I want great characters. I want a beginning. I want a middle. I want an end. The end doesn't have to feel like a resolution necessarily. Um, but I'm like, that's where I am, and there are exceptions to that. I love to bring up the example of a movie from gosh some years ago now, Ghost Story, a very
Mm.
strange, almost experimental movie that has very little in the way of a story. So that's the exception that proves the rule, shall we say? And my take with Marty Supreme, and I've tried to put this in, obviously humor tends to be my default reaction to things is I said it felt like screenplays from five different movies tossed into a blender and churned up, and then the sort of the paste that comes out is this movie. So like I said, it's mostly people said it's like a sports drama. I I think it's about a guy who plays a sport. The sports part, it's not a sports movie to me.
No.
I mean, there's really only like two, if I recall, two extended matches in the movie.
There's one
I-
at London, and then there's the one at the tail end of the movie.
yeah, and I don't know how those were filmed, like if they used CGI or if the actors really were performing all those stunts, or there were like stunt doubles that would like hit a shot and they would cut away. I don't know. They're very impressive. We actually have a ping pong table down in our basement. And it's like almost the difference between, like a genius writing a novel and a caveman, poking marks on a stone in terms of the ability there. So that was very good, but I don't think it's a sports movie. I mean, to me, it's mostly a crime movie, a little bit of a crime redemption story. Like I mentioned, the movie Paul Newman and The Hustler is the movie it feels closest to thematically, and obviously you've got a sport of some sort there. Um, but it's really about him just trying to get to the world championships and prove what he knows in his heart and no one else believes it is that I'm the best in the world. And the feeling I got is like it doesn't matter what that best in the world thing is to him. It could be ping pong, it could be, darts, it could be anything. He just needs to prove to the world what he already knows, which is that I'm the best, I have value, and I'm worthy because everyone else, even his friends, see him as this sort of lovable loser who's never going to reach the prize and never win. Um, and I guess if there's any kind of a story or theme that I did connect to, it was that part. The idea
Yeah.
of this guy who I think even when you start the movie, within 10 minutes, he's not going to achieve his goals in the end. And I'm not trying to give away the ending there. I would say he achieves something very much in his heart but is not like the traditional sports movie drama I won kind of thing. So anyway, I'll just let you react to all that.
I will say I would agree that it does feel like a lot of different like movie screenplays in one. I was texting a friend who he lives in California, but he saw it the same night that we did. And he texted me. He was like, that felt like a Frankenstein of like uncut gems, but with like Catch Me If You Can as well, which I kind of feel that way. I mean, he's getting into all these kinds of heightened conflicts, I guess I shall say. Like it is a movie that is a collection of subplots almost of
Yeah,
where he's going to go. They some of them cross, some of them don't. And I think it is in some ways not about the destination, but in other ways it kind of is. Um I think unlike the other Safdie movie that came out this year from Benny Safdie, The Smashing Machine, which I felt was very much just as much about, you know, the origins of the UFC as it was about Mark Kerr. This movie is not about ping pong at all.
yeah,
It's definitely more of like a crime com dark comedy thriller kind of thing.
yeah,
So as story wise, no, it's not conventional at all. But that kind of speaks to me in some ways of what I want out of a movie. Like I don't want a movie that's too pretentious and full of itself, which I don't think the Safdies ever are. I think sometimes they might get a little bit full of it, but not to like an extensive amount. Like they always want to make it entertaining. Like what's going to be entertaining to them and what's going to be entertaining to like their audience, I'll say. Because
yeah.
I think when I think of like something that's pretentious and not like a story that's not satisfying, I always go back to this. I hate the movie Birdman very, very much. The Inarritu movie. Yes, it has a story, but it's not. It feels so particular just to Inarritu, almost more than anything. Versus this movie, it's trying to be. Marty Mauser is not a likable character in the slightest. He is very, very great, and he's gonna get on your nerves. But I think Timothée Chalamet's performance is just so like he's almost playing into like what some like the tabloids like to say about him, or what social media likes to say about how he is. I've seen like numerous comparisons to his acceptance speech at from the Screen Actors Guild Awards last year, where he's like, "I want to be the greatest." That's kind of the recurring theme. That's his quest in this movie, and that just amused me so much. So the fact that I was able to play with our expectations, but also just deliver something that is so like entertaining and just so like I would even say like abrasive at
Yeah,
times. It's not afraid to rub you the wrong way.
yeah,
That's what I really loved about it. And I think, I mean, this movie's already kind of proving to be a bit an awards contender when it comes with the Oscars. I think it's actually a pretty cool, like almost companion piece, even to like One Battle After Another,
hmm,
where both of these movies are kind of these epic, like odysseys, different eras and everything. But while One Battle has characters that initially you're like, I don't know where they go. Like, I don't know if I'm liking them. At the end, you feel towards them. You have a lot of empathy. With this one, it doesn't really care if you ever have empathy for Marty Mauser. He's always a brat throughout this entire movie.
yeah,
But it also, he does learn. He does change a bit. But at the same time, I just like that.
yeah. I will say the change without again without giving anything away, the big change he does experience to me in the actual moment where it happens, and I won't even tell you where in the movie that is, felt very genuine. And honestly, it was the one part of the movie that I genuinely was like, it really emotionally got to me. But I will say that the turn was awfully quick.
Yeah.
It was not like he goes from being Marty Mauser, the guy who will screw over anybody, his friends, the woman supposedly carrying his baby, his own mother, anybody. Um, but that part was a little. It's like where it landed felt very true,
Mm.
but the turn to get there. And I do want to spotlight on words you said was playing with our expectations. And I mean, I would say if there's anything that typifies the Safdie, oeuvre more than anything, it would be they make movies very consciously as filmmakers, understanding what people's expectations are for a scenario, a setup, a character, and then they are constantly working to subvert that, or at
Mm,
least play with your expectations is the best word. Sometimes they will deliver exactly what you thought was going to happen, but there'll be like a little twist on it
yeah.
that gives it like a sour note or something you didn't expect, or they'll lead you down a path that seems inevitable, arriving at conclusion X, but no, we're going to arrive at conclusion Y. Sometimes that feels manipulative, like they're doing it just to literally just to play with your expectations and be like, fooled you. Um, but I will say that they were not they're good at it. In the moment, it never I didn't feel the nudge and the push on the back of my head saying go here, go there. It's kind of only almost afterwards, on reflection, that I felt that.
I was saying, look at Uncut Gems, for example, and I think that's a movie that ends the final like 10 minutes. It shows Adam Sandler's character Howard. He's about to win everything after all these shenanigans, even as these loan sharks are in it or locked in his waiting room. Then at the very last moment, he's shot dead.
Yeah,
So like, and we spent that whole movie thinking, oh yeah, this guy's toast. This
yeah,
guy's not going to win everything. And he ends up winning everything, but only for him also to kind of
yeah,
die. And I think this movie doesn't go as like, I think it's more like audience friendly than Uncut Gems in some ways. Like, I think if somebody really just didn't like the Safdies, like first two, like big movies, Good Time and Uncut Gems, they might be a little more open to this. I don't think by much, because it is still very much like a Safdie,
yeah,
you know, movie. But at the same time, it's almost trying to be a crowd pleaser about a character that you feel like you shouldn't be rooting for, but you also can't help but kind of root for as well. I mean, that was the case with Uncut Gems. It's like I hated Adam Sandler's character in that movie is very, very hateable. He's not a good dude.
no,
At the same time, you don't want to see him just die. Like he has a family, you don't want probably just want the wife to leave him, not just what happens in the aftermath. Versus this, I feel like, yeah, he's unlikable. Yeah, he's kind of a brat, but he's also the movie's very knowing about just how young he is as
yeah,
well. And it kind of uses that, I think, a lot in a similar way to like Catch Me If You Can, which is like almost like a young rebel. But even in that movie, there's a certain kind of like charisma that DiCaprio had in that role versus Chalamet is almost like even playing against what he usually does. We're talking about the Safdies playing with their expectations, but I feel like Timothee is playing with our own expectations of what we would expect from him.
yeah.
He's been compared to like a young DiCaprio, but he's not playing a character that's very charismatic at all.
Yeah, I can't remember, at least at that stage of his career, DiCaprio ever playing a character that was so intentionally dislikable. And obviously, in Django Unchained, he was playing a very dislikable character. But I think that's a 15 to 20 years into your career kind of role. That, like, if you're an actor in your 20s, you're just trying to become the star, make good movies, maybe win that Oscar, establish yourself so that, like you said, I want to be remembered as one of the greatest of all time. Um, yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I will say I have not to date liked any of the big Safdie movies. I didn't care for Good Time. I did not care for Uncut Gems. I did not particularly care for this one. So maybe it's just like their style and mine, and my perception of it. Just, but you never know. I mean, I like to say, I mean, I've seen movies made by filmmakers I hated that I thought were wonderful, and I've seen films by filmmakers that I've loved that were terrible. So I always try to go in with open eyes. I will say I've also to date not especially cared for Timothée Chalamet as an actor. Maybe some of those roles where he's been slotted in, Little Women in particular. I just, as portrayed and conceived and played, I was so turned off by the character and his performance. It's really only until recently. I liked him in Bones and All, a movie that
He's
not
good.
too many people saw from him. I guess that's probably about 2 or 3 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really liked him in the Bob Dylan movie.
Yes.
Uh, um, uh,
A complete
uh,
unknown.
yeah. So really, I thought he was really, really good. And in fact, at some level, I thought he was like playing with those expectations
Yeah.
of here's what you think you're going to get from me, and I'm going to give you a little bit of that, and then twist it and subvert it and show you no, there's a whole lot more to dive into here. I think he's good in this as well. I think it's more, again, the conception of the character was just this hyperverbal charlatan, never stops talking, is never not working the grift.
Yeah.
Um, so I think he gave the Safdies everything that they wanted. Um, but for me, it was so much behavior without like an underpinning of real character building and real storytelling. I did want to talk about the supporting cast in this because it's
Yes. It's a weird cast.
eclectic as hell, and really, really good. Some people like Gwyneth Paltrow, as this sort of faded Hollywood star that he repeatedly seduces and kind of uses. Obviously, she's more of a personality now than an actress. So I hadn't seen her really in anything in a long time that I could
Mhm.
even really relate to, and I thought she was really good. An actress named, and I'm probably butchering it here, Odessa Azion,
Yeah.
plays his childhood friend who has become his lover and is now carrying a baby, which she claims to be his. And part of the conceit there about is it or not, so I won't talk about that. She's really, really good in this. Is this woman who just knows he's thoroughly despicable, but loves him despite it. She's terrific. Abel Ferrero, who's actually more of a director than a
Yeah.
actor, he plays a sort of this stepfather slash um, character to him. I did not even recognize Fran Drescher playing his mom.
Yes.
Um, there's a few other. I didn't even see this. At one point, there's a thing where he's doing ping pong trips during halftime games of the Harlem Globetrotters, and Tracy McGrady plays one of the. I guess he's just in the background because that was pretty cool. Penn Teller turns up as this sort of like crazed farmer that he has to contend with.
Kevin
And
O'Leary.
I did actually clock Penn Teller in the movie. It
You
took
mean
me a minute.
Pendulette?
I'm sorry, it's Penn Jillette. Teller is the partner, of course. Thank
Yeah.
you for correcting me. Another actor you probably not heard of called Tyler Okonma plays Wally, who's a again friend, but a taxi driver who gets used. All of Marty's friends get used by him
Yeah.
on
Well,
some level.
Tyler's a rapper and he's Tyler the creator. So
Excellent, excellent.
he's awesome.
David
But
Mamet, the playwright, screenwriter, social commentator, is in it for a minute.
polarizing figure.
And this one, it's weird. It's like been seeing more and more of him, and I didn't clock him. Is Kevin O'Leary, who is
Yes.
best known as a businessman, who then is one of the panelists on the Shark Tank show, which I barely ever watched, and now has become something of a political commentator, not an actor in any kind, but he is in this playing the husband of the Gwyneth Paltrow character, a very, very and a pen magnet
Yes.
named Milton Rockwell. He is terrific at it, absolutely terrific. One of those things where it's like I'm guessing he's probably in his 60s, and to come up with that kind of performance, giving his background was just amazing. So I just want to give love as much as like I say, the movie didn't all the way connect for me. To me, I really saw a bunch of parts that I like that never assembled and clicked together. The cast in this is just amazing.
I will say with Kevin O'Leary, he's very much playing himself. And this, in some ways, almost downplayed. If you've seen some of his comments on even the current events,
I've seen enough to get a flavor, yeah.
but he's very much playing himself. But yeah, he is shockingly very good in this movie. And I was just like, why am I like drawn to him? I hate that, but I'm like, he's great. I will say there is another guy who works in the ping pong arena, in the table tennis arena, that you said he had the different kind of teeth. Because you said he looked familiar to you, I figured out he was on a viral YouTube video years ago, like over like 15 years ago, around when YouTube first started.
Ted Williams.
the homeless man with the golden voice.
Yes, yes, yes. Ted Williams. I'll try and find a photo of him and stick it here in the at least in the video portion of this. Yes, yes, yes. There was a guy. He was like this man off the street with this fantastic voice. And I'm trying to remember. Basically, he was sort of like redeemed and like given a second chance. I think he ended up sort of throwing it all away again, if I recall.
He became a newscaster. Um, I don't know whatever became of him, but like I was just like looking, and I was like, oh,
Yeah, yeah. That was it. Because like I was like, I know that guy, that voice, that face, and he's so memorable. And yet like I could really thank you for doing that. Yeah, I'm just quickly as we're looking over here, looking at his Wikipedia page. I think I'm wrong about him having a fall, a subsequent
yeah.
fall afterwards. I think maybe, but whatever. So it sounds like he's still out there and working. So I whatever I feel about the movie and the Safdie brothers, I got to give them a tip of the hat for just assembling this cast because it's got other filmmakers, political commentators, TV people, former George Gervin, the basketball player, is also in it. Um, I mentioned Tracy McGrady, Kemba Walker, another NBA player, is in this. Fran Drescher. How'd they get Gwyneth Paltrow to go back? I thought she was kind of pretty much done with making movies. So whatever relationships or powers of persuasion they have to get this, you know, this grouping of people to come together on a movie, that's just I have unalloyed appreciation for that.
Well, that's always how they've been. There was a movie that Josh was going to do before this that I think got like canceled or at least it's just on hiatus. But his reunion with Adam Sandler, it was going to be with Netflix. And it was going to be Adam Sandler, it was going to be Ben Affleck, but then the cast also had Steve Harvey in it, and it also had Megan Thee Stallion, and it was going to be like set in the world of like sports memorabilia, like trading cards and everything. That's what Adam Sandler. He was going to be a baseball card magnet, but they've always done that. Good Time also had just a weird cast. It had this underground rapper named Necro, who is a very edge lord kind of rapper that I was familiar with, but I was like just becoming aware of who he was. And when I watched Good Time, I'm like, what? Like, why is he in this movie with Robert Pattinson? Or, Uncut Gems, like casting The Weeknd as like an even douchier version of himself. Or casting, Kevin Garnett. I've always loved that about how they cast.
Yeah,
Smash Machine as well. I mean, I know that's Benny's movie and that's a little less safety, but I mean, besides Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt, the movie's full of UFC MMA fighters, and they're all actually pretty good in the movie.
yeah, yeah. And so whatever you want to say about them, casting even like people who are not traditionally actors and actually getting something really good out of them, that's not easy. I mean,
Mm.
even if someone like Kevin O'Leary, who's obviously been on screen a lot the last 15 years or whatever, that's still very, very different from like being on CNN and pontificating on some political topic to, creating a character that we believe is actually there and real and interesting. So yeah, so well, it's always fun. I mean, I actually really like it when I disagree with my friends and colleagues about movies because it leaves us some really interesting conversations. Um, Even when it feels sometimes it's, well, like when I have a movie that it's really the darling of mine, and then it seems like nobody else in my sphere really appreciates it like I do. Like I had that about 4 years ago with I think it was a Denmark movie, Closer.
Mm.
Like no one else in my group. It was my number one movie of the year. No one else even touched that. So I just wanted to show appreciation for you and our divergence of opinion. Of I don't know. Maybe when I was younger and angrier, if someone really liked a movie that I didn't, I felt a need to like I'm going to tell you how you're wrong and how this movie is absolutely actually terrible. And now I actually appreciate it. It's like to say, tell me about how because it's like what's the phrase? I don't like the sort of film criticism that feels like it's always right. and is
Yeah.
telling you not just here's what I think, but here's what you need to think.
Hmm.
The classic being like in the character in Ratatouille, voiced by Peter O'Toole, who, it's like, no, no, I wrote that. It's written down. The opinion is recorded, and therefore everyone must share it. I really like it when opinions diverge, even when it hurts a little bit, when people don't like a movie that I love as much as I do, and vice versa. So
I think what with this movie, we have things that we agree on. It's just almost this movie's just up to like somebody's personal, taste of what they like out of a movie. I think it's, you know, quality can always be debatable, but like a movie like this, I can see how anybody, if I tried to show it to like my parents, they would be on your page. They would
yeah,
not like this at all. And I would be very understanding of that. Because I used to be I've been, even just on Letterboxd since I was a freshman in high school. Like I started way before it even became popular. Um, but I used to be like, if somebody disagrees with me on something, I'm just gonna avoid them. But now it's like I embrace it. I kind of like it.
yeah, it's great because it's maybe like a reflection of our greater world where we just people seem so concerned with just not having true reactions and true conversations. It's just they want to just put themselves and each other into camps. So like,
Mm-hmm.
like I guess I would be put in the camp of the anti-Safdie Brothers camp, which, maybe there's some truth to that since I've really not liked any of their big features so far, but we always need to leave room for conversation and understanding. And like I said, I did not hate this movie. I admire a lot of things about it. To me, sort of like the gestalt was less than the sum of its parts. Um, but I will say this about the movie. Um, at 2.5 hours, super fast verbal, it's almost like an assault on the senses, which is, I think you mentioned, kind of tends to be a Safdie brother thing. This is a movie I think that at least for certain people, it would work better watching it at home where you can
Yeah.
pause it and go get a sandwich, and take a break for 10 minutes and then come back to it. I think for certain people, it's more palatable that way. Um, I don't know, just throwing it out there.
I think I would agree. I mean, that's not how I would consume a Safdie movie, but I think for some people, there are movies like that. I watched a movie a couple weeks ago called The Plague that was a movie I had to pause numerous times because it was like, this is too much at times. Um, but if you're a Safdie fan, I feel like they should see this in the theater. I don't know. They're doing like some like IMAX 70 millimeter screens of this. I don't know if I could do that with this. As much as I love this movie,
That was the assault almost of a big theater. Yeah.
yeah, that would be almost too much. Like I feel like I would have like a seizure if I like saw something like this in
Yeah.
that big of a screen with that much sound.
It's one of your favorite movies of the year, but it might give you a seizure. Well,
Yeah.
well, maybe that's a good bug because it was so overwhelming. All right, Nate. Well, thanks very much. Really appreciate talking with you and just having you as a colleague and a friend and a fellow yapper.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, have a good one, and thanks everyone. Make sure to head on over to filmyap.substack.com if you're watching this on YouTube or whatever, or on as a podcast, and hit that subscribe button. We thank you.